Throughout history, brave warriors have had to stand up and defend their faith, leading to some of the greatest battles of the Bible. Let's examine some of these epic clashes and discover the lessons these historic battles can teach modern Christians. The greatest battles aren't won with weapons or armies. Instead, victory is granted by God. The Battle of Jericho is the perfect reminder of this. In this conflict, the Israelites were seeking to conquer the city of Jericho. There was just one problem. The city was protected by huge walls, which would be difficult to penetrate. But God provided an unusual solution. Once a day, the army marched around the walls of the city carrying the Ark of the Covenant. For 6 days, the army repeated this strange action. On the 7th day, though, the orders changed. The Israelites had to march around the city 7 times. After the 7th pass, the army's leader Joshua gave the order for the men to make a powerful roar. As the soldiers started shouting, the mighty walls of Jericho collapsed. This isn't the only epic battle that Joshua would win. After hearing that the Israelites had conquered Jericho, the city of Gideon decided to create a treaty with Israel. This didn't sit well with the 5 kings of the Amorites. They knew that Gideon was a large city, full of well-trained soldiers, and were desperate to recapture the territory. So, the 5 kings joined their military forces and began the battle to reclaim the city. When news of this reached Joshua, he took his entire army and started toward Gideon. The grueling march took all night, but when they arrived, they took the Amorite forces by surprise. Knowing they were overwhelmed, the Amorite army tried to escape, but they didn't get far. God sent a massive storm, with huge hailstorms wiping out the army. But not all battles are won through divine intervention. Sometimes, all it takes is a cunning plan. This is something that Gideon, an Israeli leader, knew well. Upon arriving in the Promised Land, the Israeli army was shocked to learn that the territory was full of Midianite forces. Noticing the Israelis coming, the Midianites massed their forces, vowing to wipe out their enemies. Their mighty army had 135,000 soldiers. This vastly outmatched Gideon's army, which only had 300 troops. But Gideon wasn't daunted. That night he spoke to God and came up with a cunning plan. In the dead of night, the Israeli army completed a brutal 20-mile hike to the top of the mountain where the Midianite forces had massed. As their adversaries slept, the Israelis crept closer until they were less than 1,000 meters away from the Midianite camp. Once they were in range, Gideon gave the order. The Israeli army burst into life, blowing horns and banging pots. The Midianites woke up alarmed, and in the confusion they started attacking each other. Once they came to their senses, some of the Midianites tried to run away, but Gideon's army quickly rounded them up. You don't always need an army to win a battle. As Samson repeatedly showed, a single warrior can take on powerful forces. His first great victory came after an angry horde of Philistines who tracked him to a cave. He was bound with rope and led out to the waiting army of 3,000 soldiers. Using his mighty strength, he broke the rope and killed 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. Later, he would complete an even more impressive feat. Samson would push against the columns of the Philistine temple, bringing the mighty building crashing down on their heads. This incredible show of strength allowed one man to take out thousands of Philistines. While Samson was known for his strength, not all warriors need unstoppable power. David was just a local shepherd boy. He didn't have any military training, but that didn't stop him from taking on Goliath. A muscular, well-trained soldier, Goliath was so confident in his abilities that he challenged the entire Israeli army. Only David was brave enough to accept the challenge. Though he was offered a suit of armor, the shepherd boy refused. He had faith in God to protect him. Armed with just some river rocks and a slingshot, he approached the mighty Philistine. He fired a pebble at Goliath, taking the giant down with a single blow. These are just some of the epic battles contained within the Bible. Within each of these tales lies a clear message for Christians. Those who keep their faith in God will be able to overcome any obstacle.